Miguel Lloyd, host of Life Full Circle Radio. Happy Wednesday. Man, we've been busy week. Actually I went to Tulum with my family, and that was the worst food I've ever had in my life. And I think my family might be still paying for it. And so I don't know. I think they need to start teaching our new intern. They got to start teaching these kids Excel and how to use spreadsheets. All right, let's go. Oh man, I got the hot finger. You didn't get to get all that. To subscribe. Hey, here's the thing, yo, and this is the super producer.
What up?
So we now are officially Life Full Circle Radio on YouTube. So you guys can just do a little search YouTube, Life Full Circle Radio, it'll pop right on up. And it's so funny because I resisted it for so long to do these reaction videos and these YouTube shorts and all these reels, and like I did this Jay-Z joint when the new, and it's
40,000 views from his Jay-Z video.
I think it's like 45 now. But who's counting? Huh?
And coming soon to the Life Full Circle Radio channel, Game of Thrones reviews featuring Omar and the Kia Shakur. We are into Game of Thrones this time around. We are going to be doing reaction reviews.
I'm in it. We can do that. I'm watching it. It's.
Are you watching it?
Yeah, we watch Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we watch Game of Thrones, and that was so. We'll do that later in our segment on what are we watching. We're gonna try to slip that in, but we got a big show today.
We do. So
we do. We want to make sure we get everything tightened up, because today, we talk all the time about how social currency and what it's worth and what people will do for social currency. We talk about we react to all types of craziness online, and we'll get to our How and What segment here in just a minute. But we got a Dr. Kurt Honda, and he specializes in this. This is a real doctor. This is not just one that plays on TV. And so he's going to come on and he's going to have some conversations. And you reached out to him, and kudos to the super producer. Did I get my? Oh, there it is. Hold on. Nope, that's not the right one. Anyway.
See, you have to remember the soundboard if you're going to do it.
Hold on, where is it? Here it is. There it is. There's my applause. Anyway, that wasn't it either. So anyway, but the super producer, man, she did a great job. She reached out to this brother, and he is coming on our show in about 15 minutes. And talk to us a little bit about why you wanted to have Dr. Kurt Honda on the show.
So the reason why I wanted to have Dr. Honda on is because I am a fan of his on YouTube, and he does kind of the psychologist point of view of different reality shows, 90 Day Fiance and, Married at First Sight and, Smothered, all those kind of TLC shows he does reviews. He also is a real psychologist. He has also been a professor of psychology. He, still practices. And he kind of just looks at reality from a way that a lot of us don't look at these days. But
reality shows,
reality shows. And recently he did an interview called Interview with a Pedophile, which I know that sounds like, whoa, that's a lot. But it's a conversation that after you listen to it, it's a conversation that needs to be had, because there needs to be a better understanding of these types of things so that we can prevent them from happening. Get people treatment and keep children safe. And so when the whole controversy came up with,
let's slide right into it. Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears. Let's talk about this.
So we'll go into it really fast.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about it.
So 2007, right, Miguel? 2007, right?
2007, 2006, somewhere around in there. Yep.
So Aries Spears is probably at the decline of his career, and Tiffany Haddish is just trying to get on. They did a skit that no one solicited the skit. No one solicited. They did this on their own, called From the Eyes of a Pedophile. And I've only made it through 60 seconds of it. I think Miguel maybe did less than
30 seconds of it. And you guys can do a little search for it yourself if you want to see it. But I'm telling you. So imagine it's a video. Aries Spears is like playing like an uncle. This is a skit, right?
The old uncle.
He's playing the old uncle. Tiffany Haddish is playing the young mama. She got to run out. So she said, "Here, uncle, whatever his character's name is, I want you to watch my son. I'll be right back." She brings the boy down, and he's in his underwear. And so the kid is about 7 years old. So the basis of this whole lawsuit is that now this is 15 years ago. There's a sister, but I don't, like I said, I ain't got past the first 30 seconds. I don't know if there's another part with a girl, but
there is another part with the girl.
So the girl is suing Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish And so now this boy now, you know, he's 7 then. So they keep saying
He's
he's still a
14 now.
minor. He's
He's
14. Is
14
that
now.
7 years? But we'll do my math, carry the one. So but you said 06, 07. That's 15 years ago. So this has got to be 17, 16 or 17. It couldn't be 15 years ago.
You're right. Yeah, the math on that is weird because I know the
Yeah.
sister was 14 in the video and he
Yeah.
was 7, so they must be they're adults now. Basically,
Yeah, yeah.
they're
But they
adults.
said that. Well, anyway, the point is that it's weird. Aries Spears, Tiffany Haddish has come out. She's apologizing. She said it wasn't funny. She, you know, she's already trying to backtrack this thing. You know, and I'm sure she's like Aries Spears. If you wouldn't have gone after Lizzo, this probably wouldn't be on the front page because just
And that's
last
what happened.
week. Yep, just last week, nobody's thinking about Aries Spears. A lot of these people don't even know who Aries Spears is. We know who he is because
No.
we know most of the black comics and whatever.
Mad TV.
Right, you know, and all of that. But now you brought this light on yourself, and now this incident now is going to really cost you, Tiffany Haddish, anybody involved. And the bottom line, we're coming back to the situation where, what were y'all thinking?
And that's the question we're gonna ask Dr. Honda. Like, what's the mindset behind, not only comedians,
Mm-hmm.
but parents who put their children out there online thinking, because there's a parent who said, yeah, you can take my 2 children and do this skit. And that's completely fine. And there's
Yeah.
other parents who put their kids out on TikTok, sucking on popsicles and eating hot dogs and thinking, oh, this is just cute. Nope, there's nothing inappropriate
It's
here.
not
It's not
cute.
cute.
It's
So
inappropriate.
it'll
Yeah,
be an interesting conversation.
yeah.
And, a lot of people, I have to make this joke, me and the funny, a lot of people making the joke that Lizzo's ancestors are the most angriest people on the planet because they got Aries Spears quicker than anybody. They
Aries
were like,
Spears.
you will
Oh
not.
man, you know what? And Aries Spears deserves all the smoke he's getting. Tiffany Haddish deserves all the smoke that she's getting because she played along. And I, when I first heard it was 06, 07, I said, well, Tiffany, nobody knew her then. She was
Nobody knew
desperate. She
her.
wanted to get out there. But
Yes.
that's not the case. It wasn't probably too far after a girl trip, but she made some bad decisions. And there's
And
some
really
things,
quick,
yeah.
the site that it's on is called Funny or Die. They
Hmm.
found out about it in 2018 and
Hmm.
immediately took it down because they didn't know. Because apparently on Funny or Die, I didn't know this. You
Hmm.
submit comment to the site, kind of like you do, or content to the site, just like you do YouTube. So
YouTube,
when they
right.
found out it was out, they were like, "No, we're deleting this. Are y'all
Yeah,
serious?"
right,
Like it was.
right.
So it's been down.
Right. That's it's crazy. So we're gonna circle back to this. We're gonna when we get Dr. Honda on here shortly, and we're gonna dig in this a little bit deeper. All right. So next story that we want to talk about is that there is a story with Bank of America. So Bank of America is launching these zero down mortgage for Blacks and Hispanics and first time home buyers. And some people say, "Oh, this is amazing! This is amazing! This is amazing." I am not. I'm not too keen on this. And some people say, "Why would you say that?" Nothing is for free. First of all,
For free.
first of all, nothing comes for free. And then as I'm starting to some of my people who are in the mortgage business, who are realtors, some of the stuff that they're posting, I haven't had a chance to have any conversation with them yet, but I'm seeing some of their activities. The first thing that made me pause: where are they going to buy these homes? Right? Where are they going to qualify for these homes? Are they going to qualify for these homes in Buckhead? Or are they only going to
No.
qualify for these homes where a lot of the black folks are living and bring down the property value potentially of others? Now, you look at it and you say, all right, Miguel, you know, you're not giving cats you're not trying to give people a shot. Hey, I'm all about getting shots. I had to get my shot. We all have to get our shots, but I had to pay that money down. I had to get my credit score right. I had to do what I had to do to get right. But it just doesn't pass the smell test for me. What about you, kid?
It does not pass a smell test for me either. It just doesn't. Because when you get a mortgage and you have to
Hmm.
put down, they go through everything,
Right.
like fine tooth comb. They go through everything. So if
Hmm.
there's no money down for a mortgage, that basically means that anybody could get any home as long as you can afford the monthly fee. And
Right.
how much is the monthly fee going to be for a home? Are they even going to be able to afford it then? Because that down payment takes off of your main,
Well,
portion
it
of the
takes off the
house.
principal of the home. It
These
takes
are the
off the
principal.
principal of the home. It
Now
shows
that
you a
gets added
commitment.
on.
Right.
Also, there's
Right.
closing fees that
There's
you have to
closing
pay.
fees.
There's also
Correct.
a realtor fee you have to pay. So where's all of these fees coming from? The bank also giving you those fees? It's
And
a
here's the
it's a
other
lot.
piece that they haven't talked about. Okay, so what about what's the interest rate going to be? And
It
so
sounds crazy and
some
ridiculous.
some so we're gonna do a little bit of research on this. We're gonna circle back on this story because it's important. We want to know what's going on for everybody to make proper decisions because this sounds like a potential redlining to me. It sounds like it's a predatory
That's
situation.
what it sounds like to me. It
Yeah.
sounds like they're gonna be like, "Oh, but we're doing this, but we're only doing this in this area of town. So we're just gonna herd all of you over here in this area of town."
Mm-hmm.
And then that area of town ends up turning into like a Flint or a Jackson, where the water is gross and nobody really cares, and the cops are
Mm-hmm.
kind of over policing, and
Mm-hmm.
none of this sounds good. None of it.
Well, yeah, let's find the positive slant on this thing. The positive potential slant on this thing is okay. More black, brown, poor people can be homeowners. That's important.
Which
We
we
want that to
do.
be. We want that to be.
But not with weird caveats. I would rather have people live in really nice apartments forever than have weird caveats on their home. For example, let's say you buy a home with your spouse, y'all get divorced, but because y'all got this zero down mortgage, now it's following you guys around and you guys
Mm-hmm.
can't fix it or sell it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if it's one of those things where you got the house zeroed down and now you can't sell it for 30 years or until
Well,
50% of the mortgage is down? Like, there's caveats.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that
We'll
goes. You got
see.
another computer going on over there. I'm hearing the echo. I don't know if there's somewhere it's coming from. If there's some on your phone or something, maybe over there. So, the homes themselves will depend. We'll see how that works out on the types of homes that'll qualify. I'm not hearing anymore. So whatever you did is fine. I was hearing myself. So, it depends on the types of home, but we're going to keep an eye on this story because we want to make sure we're going to bring professionals on that. Well, here's what we know. We got our own, we have our own experiences. We have our own anecdotal ways we look at this thing. And when it's all said and done, we want to get some professional realtors on, some professional people who are in the credit business, mortgage brokers, and let's have a conversation so we can educate the people on what it is they need to be doing. All right, so we gotta get out. Let's get into our favorite new segment of Life Full Circle. So these are the stories we grabbed that are just so unbelievable, but they are true. That these things are happening in the world, and so this will be a great caveat leading up into our conversation with our good guests. But let's bring in number 5. Number 5. Black family says no thank you to Sesame Place. And so here's the story behind that. If you remember a couple of weeks back, there was a situation where the kids were getting shunned at all the summertime trips. They go
You
on to
mean
Sesame
racist
Place.
Rosita? You mean racist Rosita? That's what we're calling her. She is a racist Rosita.
So racist Rosita didn't want to come over here and hang out with the kids. So all of a sudden they said, no, 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 no. Come on back. We want to share our time with you. And the family said, nah, we good. I'm not bringing my child back. And the quote is, they'd rather not have their kids to relive the trauma of their last visit.
No, for real. I mean, honestly, they really think that these parents were going to be like, oh, so the place where my kids were traumatized at, where they cried and were confused and shunned by a blue monster, I'm going to bring
Yeah.
them back and have them stand on the same street.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
they
then it's
thought
even
so.
more kind of ignorant because now those kids, let's say those kids do go back, those parents do go back. Now you're just
Uh-huh.
going to have all the mascots in the world phonily come up to them and say, hi, welcome back. It's too much phony. It's too much fake.
I like that. It is too much phony. There is absolutely too much phony going on here. We're good. Y'all got to get this stuff together. You got people in these costumes. These these kids, these characters mean the world to these kids. And they blew it. And it's not just one incident. It was multiple incidents that this stuff was happening. And so hey,
I mean, these mascots were practically stiff-arming Black children. I mean, practically doing the Heisman on them as they came up to talk to them.
Lord have mercy. I'm just so tired of racism. It's just so tired. All right, next up. Mississippi prints money for Brett Favre while citizens are in need of water. So we're following this story right now. Jackson, Mississippi, which, for people who are from there, they'll tell you that this is not new. This is not new. The infrastructure in Jackson is really bad. And so now all of a sudden people are paying attention. But in the midst of that, Brett Favre, NFL legend, Hall of Famer, is taking money for speeches he's not given. He's getting money to build a volleyball facility at his alma mater. They're giving away money to wrestlers. So this is a quote from the MSNBC article. The revelation of the auditor that $70 million in temporary assistance for needy families, welfare funds were doled out to multimillionaire athletes, a professional wrestler, and a horse farmer, and a volleyball complex, while people are drinking brown water in the state of Mississippi. Huh?
Here's my what? Y'all think this is new? What? Are y'all serious? Stop it. This whole paying celebrities to speak and then they don't speak, or is paying congressmen or senators to come speak and they don't speak. Miguel, you know this.
Yeah,
You from the DC area. This happens all the time. It just sucks because Jackson is dealing with the water crisis. And if they weren't, though, this would still be going on. It's the same thing like the Aries Spears situation. This only came up because something else bad happened. If something else bad hadn't happened, they would just be flooding money out of the system for these speeches. This has happened in Florida where they're like, oh, we paid so-and-so $5 million to make a speech. That person never came. They still got the money, though.
right.
It's fine.
Because you put his name on the flyer and then you raise some money off of Brett Favre's name in this case. And it's just disgusting. When you got people that are living the way that they're living right now, in the state of Mississippi, in the city of Jackson. It's not the whole state, of course. It's where black folks
bleach in their water to clean it.
I'm just
boiling it and sifting it.
And we got family now. Now where our family is in Mississippi, they're not having this problem. But yeah, this is crazy. And you know, he supposedly Brett Favre paid the money back. You paid the money back because you got caught. That's why you paid the money back. You didn't pay the money back out of the kindness of your heart. Oh, I didn't know it was for the welfare people. You knew it was not for you. You knew that if you're gonna get paid to do a speech and you don't show up, you don't deserve that money. And so, but praying for the people of Jackson. You know, it's crazy out there. Let's hope that this situation gets fixed much sooner than later. All right, let's move on. A racist and a thief. This video will speak for itself.
Okay.
Go to your own car.
He's trying to steal my money off the thing because I already prepaid. I don't know. I think this is who he works for.
Move your hand out the way before I smash it. Talk about white privilege and then go white black bitch.
All right, sorry for the language. So if you didn't follow what was just happening, okay, you go into QT. You know, I don't know. I guess you got QT in Florida, but you know, whatever. You go to your local gas station, you go prepay your gas, you come out, and somebody's pulled up to the pump that you just paid for, and they're stealing your gas. And she's like, what are you doing? I prepaid for this gas. He's unapologetic, basically told her to get her hand out the way before he smashes her hand in the pump, calls her a black bee, and Lord knows I'm glad I wasn't there, because he'd have been picking himself up off the floor.
And that's the thing that I'm confused by. I think she was probably so stunned that she couldn't react. Well, if you're going to smash my hand, then you're just going to smash my hand. Now we're just fighting because I'm trying to hold you up from leaving. So enough people see us fighting to have people call the police and call 911. That would be my main goal, because it's so egregious. Like, he said the N-word, whatever, was racist, fine. But I have never in my entire adulthood gone to prepay gas, came back and somebody was pumping gas like right next to my car. Come on, have you ever seen this before, Miguel? Ever?
No,
ever.
but this is the society we're living in right now. You know, these people are so brazen with the ignorance and with the attitudes and the things that they'll do. And I'm just like, but once again, it always concerns me, because a lot of times when you see these situations, is some old rickety racist white dude with a sister, with a black woman. And I'm just and it enrages me when I see stuff like this, because I'm just like, he wouldn't have done that if he'd have saw me, right? He might have cussed and all that, have been up in his truck, like calling me all types of whatever you want to call in that truck. He wouldn't have came and tried to steal my gas, because he know he'd have got dropped. But so many sisters are out here all by themselves, you know, and moving around by themselves. Like the women in my family, if I'm around, they don't pump gas. You know, my wife, my daughter, they don't pump gas. You know, just go sit in the car.
No, when Omar is with me, you know, Omar is always like, he hops out first to go pump the gas. You know, there's maybe one time he hasn't hopped out to go pump the gas because he was dealing with babies and doing like extra stuff.
Right.
But when I'm by myself, you know, from pickup with the kids, if a man did this to me, I would be just out of luck, because I got 3 kids in the back of the car heading home from pickup. Well, what can I do? Nothing.
But just the simple fact that you're gonna be a thief and a racist all in one vein, and he's somewhere here in the Atlanta market. My understanding, his story is about a week old, and he's.
I think they found him.
He's driving the company. The fool is driving the company van. Like,
okay, guys, white people, if you're going to be racist, don't drive your work truck. Don't have a full-blown uniform. Like, I get racist, I get it. Sometimes it's got to be racist. It's fine. I totally understand it. But don't drive in your work truck.
You driving in your work you driving in your work van with doing that. Like
logos everywhere. It's a big
logo
old
all
logo
on the side of the van. Like all people got to do. It's all over social media. That dude probably already lost his job. He's somewhere with a Trump flag on his back, screaming. It's anyway. All right, so number one story on What for the Week is all about. I hit that part first. Irv Gotti solicits Bow Wow's daughter. So this story.
You skipped the story.
I skipped the story. So we're gonna go back. Here's the story. Irv Gotti, who you know,
Warwick?
huh?
Dionne Warwick, you not gonna do Dionne?
Did I skip Dionne? Oh, let me go back. I'm sorry,
Warwick.
I didn't skip Dionne. Let me go back to Dionne.
We're excited for the interview, but we gotta give y'all the
I
good
know because
segment.
Dr. Honda's on, and I want to make sure that I see he's on. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm not gonna lie. So I did skip a story. Dionne Warwick is mistaken for Gladys Knight at the U.S. Open. Everybody, if anybody who watched Serena play, last week, and then she lost Friday night, but she did a great job, won 2 matches and fought to the end in the second one. And so both Dionne Warwick and Gladys Knight were at the U.S. Open. These women look absolutely, positively nothing alike. And but the announcers from the U.S. Open, you're talking about 2 legends, and so anyway. So Dionne Warwick has some fun with it.
But the U.S. Open was tripping in general because they thought that Laverne Cox was Beyonce. And announced it, and she was just like, "Oh my God, y'all are like." She was trying to play it off real cute, but people on the internet were like, "These 2 people look nothing alike. Like, what are y'all talking about?"
Oh my God! All right, so Dionne Warwick had a little fun with it. Hi, I'm Gladys Knight, and instead of taking the midnight train to Georgia, I won't walk on by, and we'll say a little prayer for you. That's a little joke because, of course, midnight train to Georgia is Gladys Knight song.
Yes. Walk
on by is her song. Little prayer for you is Aretha Franklin song. Let's just give the Queen, Dionne Warwick, who's well into her 80s, who's on the Twitters now. Is she tweeting? She's on the Twitters. If she's tweeting herself, I don't know, but she's approved and she got the thumbs up, and so she had a little fun with it. But come on, guys.
Stop
All right. So you didn't already seen it, but here it is. Number 1 story of the week: Irv Gotti solicited Bow Wow's daughter for movie role. So here's the thing. I saw this story last week, and it kind of, because I ignore Irv Gotti most of the time, I was just like, why is he on Instagram soliciting people's children, right? And then I saw Bow Wow as part of the story, and I said, why? What does Bow Wow have to do with this, right? And now I realized that it was Bow Wow's daughter that he solicited. And for some reason in my mind, Bow Wow, who came out as a 13-year-old performer 20 plus years ago, however long ago again, he feels like he's still a kid. Bow Wow probably pushing 40 years old now.
Yes.
Right. And so to see him with children is but his whole thing was, okay, hey Shay, I tried to reach out to your mom and dad. I'm interested in casting you in a movie I'm shooting. Let your mom or dad know to get in touch with me. It's perfect role for you, Irv Gotti. And I said, okay, he reached out to the kid's mom and dad. Okay, the dad is Bow Wow. How hard is it for you, Irv Gotti, to get to Bow Wow? Stop it, dude.
That's what I'm saying. And also tweeting because Shy Moss is the little girl. That's
right. She's the girl in the picture here. Right.
That's
right.
highly inappropriate. I mean, it brings it into this conversation we're about to have,
right.
Because no adult should be reaching out to a child for any kind of work or anything like that. It should have been, well, I can't get a hold of their parents. I guess I'll just wait till somebody texts me back because it's just not appropriate. And Irv is having a rough week.
Here's the only way that I kind of said, okay, if this was a random child who was just getting internet famous and you don't know their parents, okay, you can't reach the parents. Okay, I'm going to do it. This is Bow Wow. You can't tell me you can't, Irv Gotti. Y'all been in the entertainment business together 20 plus years that you could not find somebody to get you to Bow Wow. Man, stop. Yeah. So, so that's our What stories of the week. Man, it's what?
I know.
All right, so let's get into our conversation today. As we mentioned, I'm gonna let you set this up because kudos to the super producer. She said we got this great interview and we got a lot to talk about because we talk about it all the time on the show. What people will do for social currency is absolutely ridiculous, right? And when you think about that, you just sit back and you say, what are they getting out of this stuff, right? And so, but people do it all the time. All right, so we want to bring our guest, Dr. Kern Honda and Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hi,
Thanks for
Dr.
having me.
Honda.
You didn't expect that type of introduction. He's like, okay, he's going to set it all up. But psychology in Seattle, man, I've watched some of your videos, great takes. We've talked several times. I was watching your video with Will Smith. We've talked about that several times. I actually, as I told people, when the Slap Her Around the World happened, I was reading his book. And so I wasn't surprised because in the book, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to catch any snippets or read it yourself. He's had a lot of trauma in his family. There's a lot of history there. And so it wasn't surprising. I also saw your video when you were talking, when you reviewed the Jada Pinkett, the Red Table Talk between he and his wife. And so, but welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's jump into this thing. We want to talk about,
I can't hear Dr. Honda.
You can't hear Dr. Honda.
No. Can you hear him?
I can hear him fine.
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear him. Why can't you hear him? That's ridiculous. I'm looking at everything. Everything looks good.
I've been dying to do this interview for 3 days, and now this happens. Thank you, Jesus. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. So,
You
great.
really cannot hear him? You can't hear him at all? Dr.
can
Honda,
hear him.
speak for me, please, sir.
Hello, testing. Test. Should I talk louder? Can you hear louder?
No, everything looks fine. You're on the screen. Everything is cool. All right, let me go.
You know what? I'm just gonna get the interview started and wing this, even though I can't hear him. You can, and we'll just have to.
We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. So let's jump into this thing. So what I would do, Kia, if I were you, mute your mic and just listen to it online, and so you can kind of try to respond in that way, and we'll figure out why else has happened. But anyway, let's get into this thing because I want you on the screen for this thing. I want you to hear this. But talk to us about your perspective. You've been practicing as practicing psychologist for how long?
25 years.
25 years. So you remember where there was no social media and it wasn't this level of access, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you think about what has happened over the course of the last 15 years roundabout, and what people will do for likes and attention online, you know, there was a barrier to entry to have this type of access, and now that barrier to entry is gone. Talk to us about how you've seen the evolution and how things have changed over the last 15 years.
Yeah, well, insecurity and difficulties within one's personality has been around since humans have been around. But with the advent of the internet and social media, it provides a way, pros and cons, I suppose. On one side, and the pro, it can help people to connect, to express themselves in ways that are positive, but it also will manifest the problems that people have where they're desperate or distorted or looking for attention. They get attention that way. Some people can literally make a career out of lying online, this sort of thing.
Right.
So there's a pathway for that I imagine in the past they would have engaged in other kinds of behaviors that were, I don't know, less visible or something. But and I think an added factor is you have more and more people who are isolated and alone and lonely and don't have any regular kind of attention or love or attachment in their life, and all of their socializing happens through social media. So it kind of makes sense that one's darker sides of one's personality would express themselves through social media. Yeah.
Kia, are you hearing him yet? She's not. This is weird. I'm looking. So, you know, social media.
I can hear your phone. I'm good.
Okay, all right,
I can,
good. Okay,
yeah.
then good. We're good there.
We're
So, you know, I look at what social media has done, and you know, we're of a certain age. Kia's a little bit younger than us. I'm assuming, Doc,
A lot
I'm
younger.
I'm 50 years old, and so we're close. We're probably close.
Yeah, 51.
Yeah.
I think I'm
Carry the one, you know, do the math, carry the one.
Yeah.
So we remember the day that, you know, you had to pick up a phone. I'm about to be the old guy in the club now. You had to pick up the phone. You had to go see people. Now you've got people who don't have to go through the processes of really being talented to get exposure. They can do anything they want on the internet, and you get this immediate gratification that says, hey, I got 100 people who just like this situation that I'm doing with this woman. And so from a psychological standpoint, what does that look like to you clinically when you say you watch these reality show stars who have very little talent beyond acting a fool in a lot of cases. Let's just keep it real. From a clinical standpoint, what do you see when you see those type of things going on there?
Well, it's hard to generalize, of course, because everyone is different, but we evolved to seek acceptance and attention in a good way. Imagine 500 years ago, 100,000 years ago, we are wanting our people, our tribe, our kin to like us, to think we're funny, to think we're interesting, to
Right.
pay attention to us, to accept us. And that was all fine and good. Then you fast forward to when you and I were growing up in the 70s, and it might be your neighborhood and your church. But now with the internet, it's become the internet. So people will turn to that forum for acceptance and love and validation. And on a certain level, I might post a picture on my private Facebook, my private personal Facebook page, and my friends and family will like it, and I'll get a little bit of gratification for that. But I would like to think that I have love and acceptance and attachment in my real life. So I don't depend on Facebook to define me and to validate me. And so imagine if I had nowhere else to turn, and might have also been abused growing up and had issues. It might all come pouring out in this way. And so people go on reality TV possibly because they aren't able to find acceptance in other ways. I think another factor is a lot of people don't even know what they're getting into when they're agreeing to be on a reality TV show. They think, well, I'm a normal person. This will be fine. But reality TV tends to engineer scenarios that bring out your, the interesting sides of your personality. Another factor, though, is economics. These shows often pay these individuals, and a lot of these people don't have another way, particularly with 90 Day Fiance, if you're from another country and the economics in those areas are not very good. It's a career, and in order to continue to be on the show, you have to create content that is interesting, which means you might. A lot of these people don't have another way, particularly with 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, that's Kia trying to hear. Go ahead, Kia. I know you got ask your question. Turn your mic on.
Sorry, I'm balancing the pausing and listening. One of the questions that I wanted to ask, with the Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears situation, I know you weren't 100% familiar, but I sent you the article about it. And a lot of people are calling this grooming. And I don't think they're using that term correctly, just like people don't use the word narcissist correctly. So what is the clinical definition of grooming?
Well, typically in the clinical field, we're using the word grooming to refer to adults who are trying to socialize a child to be easily victimized. So it's things like giving them candy or ingratiating yourself with the family, coming across like you're a trustworthy person, finding kids who might not have a lot of parental oversight or supervision, inviting them over to play video games, and slowly you're grooming, you're getting them comfortable, and that's grooming. In our common parlance today, people are often using it to refer to when two adults are in a relationship and one person is perceived as being coercive or tricksy with their trying to get you to engage in, to be a victim in an abusive relationship, essentially. And that's not typically how we use it. But with the Tiffany Haddish story, again, I'm not familiar with the details. And from what I can tell, even from the media reporting, there's still a lot of details that are not necessarily known to us about what happened, right? And with Aries Spears, it sounds like there's other allegations and from other instances that could be false. I don't know. But so they're saying that they're using the term grooming to refer to the children that were in the video. Is that what they're saying?
So the situation is that you have Tiffany Haddish knew the mother of the two children. And so Tiffany was an up-and-coming star, brand new. Aries Spears is a veteran comedian. And they were young. The kids were 14 and 7 when this video was produced. And you know, it's one of those things where once again, if you're a parent, and it goes back to the R. Kelly situation, it goes back to there's another story that's out there, and it's so interesting, Kia, because my oldest daughter is 22 years old, and she used to watch just like all the other kids, Nickelodeon and Disney, and now there's a story
Nickelodeon, yep.
around. I guess the guy's name is Dan Schneider, who used to be
Dan
one of the
Snyder,
kids'
and
stores, and now he's a producer, and there's some issues potentially there. And then the young lady from iCarly, and here's again my 9 and 11-year-olds, they like to watch iCarly now because they're watching the repeats. And one of the girls who is it iCarly, the one that
let's see if he gets the name right, Dr. Honda. What's the name of the girl who wrote the book? I will give you $5.
Well, you can keep your little $5. I don't remember her name, but she was a co-star on the show, and Saran sent me a clip of her, and the name of her book is, and let me get my little $5 here. I'm Glad My Mother Died. Is that the name of the book?
Yes, I'm glad my mom died.
I'm Glad My Mom Died, and she was a co-star with what's the girl that can sing really well?
Wow.
You know, I'm an old guy in the club. Give me a break.
Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande. There we go. Ariana Grande was her co-star. I love the show. I think it's funny. But now this girl is in her early 20s, and she hates being famous. Doc, she talks about this clip I heard her from. She says, I hate being famous. People come up to me and say, aren't you the girl? No, I'm not. And she basically hates it. And you look at it and you say, the Ariana Grandes, the Justin Timberlakes are not the norm. They seem to be the exception on people who are able to manage that as kids and go up as adults and still be productive and just cool citizens. It seems like they have a lot of struggle with that.
The question kind of there is, with these children who are being put on TikTok, who are being put out there online, are we looking at a whole new generation of child stars who could possibly fail as adults because they've never had to really be adults? Everything's been given to them as children, and you know, now they're here trying to survive.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, one I've been looking into the research and thinking about for a while, because on the shows that I watch, including Jeanette McCurdy, where's my $5? You know, we've been having increasing amount of children on these shows, and also on YouTube. There are YouTube channels that are, you know, managed by parents that are focused on the children. And given the research, so regarding the research, it's hard to know what the effect size is. So, you know, say you have 100 kids who do this kind of thing, and one of them has problems. Does that mean we throw the whole thing out? I don't know. Or are we looking at 60 out of 100 have problems? So it's hard to know exactly what we're looking at here. And not being on shows, it's not like kids don't have problems sometimes. So there's that. But it seems to be a fairly smaller number. But my approach is, we don't need kids to be on these shows. We don't need kids to be on YouTube. It's not a public necessity like water and, you know, the fire department or something. It's something that we could do without. And if there is a risk, which it seems to be that there is, then I just say, why try? It'd be like saying, well, you know, some kids can smoke cigarettes and they won't become an addict. They'll smoke one cigarette and everything will be fine. You know, we don't say that. We say, no, we're just going to not legally allow children to smoke cigarettes. We don't want to take that risk. And also the other, you know, what people say is, well, the kids they consent, right? They sign on the dotted line. But even a teenager, do we really believe that they have the wherewithal to know what they're consenting to?
Right.
So I say, you know, leave them out of it for sure.
Yeah, no, my kids have asked me for years, my younger kids, hey, we want to be, because of course they see the other kids online, they want to emulate what they see, right? And
it looks fun.
It looks fun. I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm just not. And I know there's a lot of people say, well, you make a whole ton of money, and of course, like you said, 10 years ago, everybody was on Nickelodeon and Disney. Now these kids, some of them are refusing Nickelodeon and Disney gigs, because they're like, I can't make enough money on Disney when I can make millions of dollars on YouTube, right? And so you look at this stuff and you just say, man, what is this going to result in these kids? Now, we talk about all the time, these kids are digital natives. You know, we're learning how to be comfortable doing what we're doing right now. These kids now are just like, okay, everything is on the phone. You know, my kids are editing videos and all this type of stuff, and it's fun because this is all they've known from the beginning. But I'm just concerned about the long-term effects, and then as you get to the teenage kids, it's hard to tell teenage kids don't go do what X is doing on Instagram or TikTok, and this guy is a millionaire off of doing whatever, right? You've got the bad baby girl. Her name is that now, but her real name, I remember, was on Dr. Phil, and stop shaking your head. She was on Dr. Phil.
Sorry.
Catch Me Outside, and now they're saying this young lady is making millions of dollars a month on OnlyFans. Never been on OnlyFans before in my life, but I just look at that and says, at 19, 20 years old, where is she going to be at 40? That's the concern. And so, and from your profession, how are y'all talking about this? I'm pretty sure it's kind of helping. You guys are probably getting more clients because they need a lot more counseling.
Yeah, well, our field tends to move at a snail's pace. So the literature and the approach is well behind what is happening. And it's not that common. I mean, it'll become more and more common as time goes on. But yeah, I mean, on the other hand, it's like I could see working with a client, a 12-year-old who has a small YouTube presence and maybe even really benefits from it, right? Or if you've seen the movie 8th Grade, the one that Bo Burnham wrote and directed, it's about an 8th grade girl who has a YouTube channel and hardly anyone watches, but she's able to express herself and get her feelings out there in a way that she can't in her real life. She's very shy at school, but online she feels like she can kind of be herself. And so on some level it could be a benefit, case by case basis, right? But how do we know the difference? And I think that's, what you were saying earlier, that's where parents come in, because parents would be the most knowledgeable about whether or not their kids are going to be able to handle it, and whether the kids will, how they're managing it, right? The parents could be there saying, wow, you seem to be doing it all the time, and you seem to be really focusing on how you look, and you seem to be really beating yourself up. Is it because people are trolling? Parents would be there. Now, of course, then you say, well, not all parents know what to look for. Not all parents are necessarily good parents. So, yeah, like I said, and this just could be me being an old guy, just being like, let's just not do it. But
so we got 5 more minutes with you, Doc. I want to have a little fun with you right now. All right, we're gonna take. I want to throw out a celebrity, and I want you to tell me, how would you counsel them? I'm not going to. How would you counsel them based on what they're going through at this moment? All right, so
no.
Number 1, Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian. Well, does she have a problem? I mean, what would she be coming into therapy for? Like what
Kanye West.
Oh, well, I can talk about what she went through, I think, in Europe when she was traumatized by the robbery.
Yeah.
I would hope that she has been through trauma treatment around that.
Let's just not do it. But
counsel based on what they're going through. All
right. You need to mute your
mute your phone there, Kia. Okay.
So regarding Kanye, I think she also is suffering. I just wonder if behind the scenes, it's at least maybe up until the breakup, things were just kind of normal, but afterwards, it could be kind of scary. I don't know.
Well, because even now that she's broken up with Pete Davidson, now he's on social media doing crazy stuff. All right. Will Smith.
Well, wait, can I ask my fun question? Because we only have 2 more minutes left. And this is a fun question that I know Dr. Honda fans are really, really going to like from his YouTube channel. So of all of the participants on 90 Day Fiancé, which one do you want to strangle with your bare hands?
Well, clinically, I would never strangle a client, but the impulse would be there potentially. So the one that I would want to strangle... Well, I mean, the first person that comes to mind is Angela, I guess. But then I think the next person that comes around is Summit, honestly, because there are times when Jenny and Summit is, I think he's a good person. I think he's coming from a good place, but he gets himself in these weird situations. And I would just want to be like, stop it. You're better than this. You can, like, knock it off. I mean, not all the time, but I feel myself getting very frustrated with him sometimes. Not recently. This season, I feel like he's really suffering from his parents' issues, but in previous seasons, yeah.
I think it's such
Who
a
do you
talent.
want to strangle?
He said, "Who do you want to strangle, Kia?"
My phone is now wanting to play on its own. I would actually want to strangle submit as well. The reason why is because I get their situation because I'm actually married to an Indian man, and he should know better. This is not like, as someone who's been married to this man, my husband, for 5 years, who has kids, and it's not easy. They are very insular. They're very big on tradition. So if him not knowing that and doing what he did is like, you knew this already. Why would you do this? You knew this already. Stop it.
All right, one more celebrity, Will Smith.
Well, having read excerpts from his book and seeing what happened at the Oscars and hearing what has happened with his wife previous, I would hope that he is, and I think it's true, at the beginning of his recovery from his childhood trauma. I mean, it is several years of therapy around that. He has come to reckon with the reality of that. He talked with his mom before his book was made public. He went to his mom and said, "Look, I've written about what happened here," and he said he talked with his mom for the very first time. Since he's around our age, right? So it's been 40 years,
right?
And he's never talked about it with his mom, and that's typical. So he's really exercising a lot of demons, if you will, around this, and I think it came out in the Oscars. And so I would hope that he wouldn't retract from this event. I would hope that he would just say, okay, I've got a lot of work to do and a lot of things to heal from, a lot of things to talk about with my mom, talk about with myself. I think he's still struggling with this I'm a coward scheme.
Yes.
And that just breaks my heart to think about a young Will Smith blaming himself for the abuse that his mom went through.
He used that word so many times at the beginning of that book, and it set it up for me of what this guy's been dealing with for a long time. And it's so funny. Growing up, I thought I was going to be a psychologist and said, no, I'm not going to do that. Ended up doing what I'm doing now. But I appreciate you coming on the show. Sorry about the technical difficulties we were having here today. I don't know what happened.
I'm so sad. Like, I'm dying on the inside.
No, as a YouTuber and podcaster, I am super aware of all the possible problems that frequently go wrong, so I can sympathize.
Yeah, no doubt. But I really do appreciate it, and hopefully soon we can have you back on, and because there's some other questions we would love to get into. But thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
All right. So we worked it out. Hey,
I'm going to murder you.
How can you murder
That's
me?
on
I'm
camera,
looking
people.
everything.
That's live on. I'm going to murder you.
There's absolutely nothing. You are on the same system line that he's on. So if I can hear you, I should be able to hear him, and y'all should be able to hear each other. I have no idea what happened. So we worked it out, though. You worked it out. But great guest. We appreciate Dr. Honda for coming on.
Yeah.
Great insight. And man, it's just crazy, what it is that people are dealing with. And guys, we got to be patient with celebrities, man. Yeah, you think because they got all the money in the world, and you think they got all the money in the world. A lot of them ain't rich as you think they are. The ones we're talking about, they are. But some of the other ones, they're not. This is their currency. This is the value they see in being able to be in front of all of us. And sometimes we got to be a little bit more patient with these folks because they're dealing with some stuff. So. But
I think we also need to stop idealizing celebrities and putting them on this crazy pedestal like they're not people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the issue. And we need to stop acting like we own them.
No, we don't.
I feel like a lot of people act like we own them. Like, we buy tickets to movies, so we own you. We buy your music. We watch your YouTube videos. We own you. And in reality, you can't own a person. You're not a slave master. They put this art out because they like it. And that's just what it is. It's not for anybody to really own. I am so I'm dying on
It's all good. It's all good. It was a good interview, and hopefully he will come back on and say those crazy life full circle folks. We had a good conversation, but I definitely would want to bring him back on. All right, so before we get up out of here, we got a couple more minutes. And so anybody, if you got anything you want us to pull up on the screen, drop it in the comments. But let's get into our what are you watching portion of our
Yes.
show. And
Yes.
so I'm watching, here's the thing. If people are paying attention to how this stuff works, the kind of B-list second tier shows normally are in the summertime. And
Yeah.
so as you roll into this time of the year, football season is coming, and the bigger shows, they come out with their stuff. So I just finished up The Chi. And The Chi, are you watching The Chi? I can tell by your
No,
face.
I don't
Yeah.
watch. No,
The Chi is,
no,
well, so
no, thank you.
it's not bad. It's gotten better. Last year was a little crazy, but then again,
And
this
that's what
year,
everybody said. Everybody said season 1 through 3 was good. Then it got weird, and then this season's a little bit better.
yeah, I don't know if it's 1 through 3 or 1 through 2, because what happened was the guy that played Eazy-E, I always forget his name. Guy that played Eazy-E in Straight Outta Compton was a main character, and then he got handsy with his co-star.
Yes, and then her boyfriend had to come to set every day.
Yeah,
So
and so at that point they nixed both of their characters and they had to revamp it. And with that, they brought in some new characters. It took a minute to really get it, but I think Luke James is doing a great job in his role. Some of the
and
stuff
he's a
is
great
kind of
actor.
some of this stuff is kind of hard to believe. Like, come on now, the
Okay,
one
so
of the,
outside of The Chi, let's not get stuck on The Chi because I'm
let's,
waiting for you to
well,
get to my
let me
show.
finish up my point. But outside of the fact that they've got a drug dealer that became mayor, and then he was mayor for like 6 minutes, and then now he's back out being a big dope dealer, gangster in the streets. That's kind of far fetched. All right,
Isn't Candy on there too? In Candy,
Candy
from
Burris has she has a bit role. She comes and goes. She's married to the gangster I'm talking about, but she's a lesbian. So it's Anyway, so don't ask me about those parts because they make it sound like it's not a good show. It's a decent show. All right. So and then I finished up Honk for Jesus. I finished. So,
I haven't seen it yet, but you and maybe 7 people have said I walked out, and I'm like, why? What's going on with this movie where people are walking out because they're 2 great actors? Nuck if you buck.
that's what made me watch. If you guys go ahead, because it's everywhere, go ahead and Google Nuck if you buck, Honk for Jesus. That scene was hilarious. It was a parody, and I can tell you the first thing that made me want to see it is that all my church friends were all up in arms. I said, "Now I want to see it."
Yes, I mean that's I agree with you.
But it was a parody. It was really it was a little bit of Eddie Long in there, in his situation. A little bit of Eddie Long in the situation, and it was just silly. Regina Hall is one of my favorite actresses in Hollywood. I think she's hilarious. Seeing my man, I can't remember his name, who played in This Is Us, who was the main character. Seeing him in a funny, different role, not just playing the kind of sappy role in This Is Us, it was pretty good. All right, what are you watching?
I am watching. I think me and Miguel on the same page. We are now Game of Thrones. I don't know what they call us. Are we Thronies? Are we dragons? Are we Targaryens?
I don't know what they call. I don't know what they call. We are watching it. Trey and I are watching it. It's just these names and those. It takes you a while with all the names, and everybody is blonde, and then you got all the incest. It takes you a minute to be like, okay,
Corlys, Rhaenyra, Viserys, Daemon, but it's all a lot of isses. It's a lot of A's and a lot of vowels.
And vowels and yeah.
But outside of that, I will say that Game of Thrones is now sticking more to the book. I know that for a fact. They're also getting away from the gratuitous sex because I think in Game of Thrones, every episode was a sex scene. At least here, we're getting more of the storyline. And we're getting to know these characters a little different. Spoiler alert.
Can I interject one thing? There's not a lot of sexy people on this Game of Thrones. Like,
no, it's
in the last series, you had some younger people, but you got this old guy who's a king, and they're trying to marry him off to a 12-year-old. Like, no, nobody wants to see that. But go ahead.
It's a bunch of 4s. But what I can say is a little spoiler alert about it being 4s. I think they're all going to go to 10s because after episode 4 that's coming up, all the characters who are young, the new queen, Rhaenyra, aka Riri, Lenore, Lanera, the black boy with the dreads and his sister, they all get time jumped 12 years. So they can't have these same child actors. They have to move up to adults. So we're going to see the older versions of these people because that's interesting that they're doing that. But I like it more than I liked Game of Thrones. I hope they don't ruin it like they did Game of Thrones on the last season just to get lazy. Now they're just taking like a magic marker going, this looks like a good script. We're just going to do this. Say it. I hope we're not doing that. So we're watching Game of Thrones. I think that's really the only thing. And my husband is, white knuckling it to get to football season. That's
football
what's happening.
season is so funny. I'm supposed to leave right now and go. My fantasy football draft is at 9:15. And so
I hate you. I see. I hate it. I become a football widow. Like no
you
joke.
just gotta
my
like
husband
football.
hates-
Fortunately for me, my
On a weeknight?
it's Thursday night at football. What's the big deal? Nothing else on anyway.
Yes, nothing else is on, but the game's don't end until 11. I still got to get up with kids at 5:30 in the morning. So, sir, you better get this pillow and this blanket and go live on the couch. And that's how I become a football widow.
All right, let me see. Let me think. Anything else we're watching right now? I'm trying to get through The Boys. I just can't keep up with it. It's too much gratuitous violence.
We're not doing this again. We're
We're doing it every time until I get through The Boys. I just can't do it. All right, so we got a couple minutes left. Let me see.
Did they kill the whale yet?
Hmm.
Did you get to kill the whale when they killed that whale? Did you get to that scene? That's season 2.
You spoiling.
Anyway, other things
people
people are watching is the Real Housewives of Atlanta. The reason why I bring it up because the whole She by Sheree thing has finally become a real line. Instead of having her whole site build out, her site was built on WordPress that can be easily hacked, and she copied all of her designs from Shein and Fashion Nova, and that has now come out. But it's a really funny thing, and I'm watching it because it's entertaining.
She needs to get a better web developer if she's letting her site get hacked that easy. All right. But I don't know. Those shows always annoy me because they're 50-year-old women acting like they're 12, and it always bugs me, the arguments they get into. All right, so great show today. As we mentioned, you missed any part of it, make sure you go back. Dr. Kirk Honda, gave some great insight, great at the top. And as we mentioned, we are now officially Life Full Circle Radio on YouTube. Yes.
One real quick, sorry, that someone just made something very interesting that my mom liked, but this part one of our viewers didn't like. The Mike series on Hulu about Mike Tyson. A lot. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not watching that because Mike said it was not. Yeah, Mike said it was not. He did not approve it, and he doesn't like it. So I'm like, then I ain't watching it. You know what I mean? Do you know me and Mike Tyson share a birthday? Our birthday's the same day. Did you know that?
You share a birthday with a crazy person. Congratulations.
So, Mike's the man. But anyway, and I'm not watching that. I have no interest in watching it. It is so much content out here right now. It's like sometimes you're almost afraid to start a new series because you're just like, oh my God. Now, some of my favorite series would come back on. I'm a big Chicago, so I like Chicago PD, Chicago Fire. Yeah. Chicago Fire.
Law and Order SVU. Come back, baby.
Chicago Fire is my guilty corny. Like it's just so corny and so
so corny.
It is so corny. Trey just stopped watching it. She's like, I don't watch it. Chicago PD is not as corny.
Med, Fire.
Now I can't sit through Med. I gave up on Med. It just Med got away.
I watched Med. I watched Med.
It got away from me. I'm glad they finally letting the brother on Chicago PD get a storyline. He just was always the grunt running around beating up on people, and now he's got a love interest and some stuff going on. So I'll be interested.
Is she black?
She is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank God, because they love giving a black man a white girl on the show. Like, I'm sorry, but they do. They just love being like, oh, they just loved her for her. No, stop it. So
you're a mess. All right, we appreciate every last one of y'all for tuning in. Make sure you guys follow us on all of the socials, the Facebooks and the Twitters and the YouTubes and the Instagrams. As me, the old guy in the club, I'm out. I gotta go take care of my kids.